Welcome to Future Business School's Book Bites. Today, we're diving into a powerful dystopian novel that has had a profound impact on literature and our understanding of totalitarian regimes. 1984 by George Orwell. Written in 1949, this novel explores themes of surveillance, government control, and personal freedom. Even though it's a work of fiction, the lessons from 1984 are still incredibly relevant today. So, let's uncover these crucial lessons and see how we can apply them to modern life. The power of surveillance.
One of the most famous elements of 1984 is the concept of Big Brother, the government that watches everyone's actions, controlling their thoughts and behavior. In the world of 1984, privacy doesn't exist.
In today's world, this might remind us of the way companies track our online activities through social media, or how governments use surveillance to monitor citizens. For instance, many people now recognize that their online presence can be scrutinized by employers, authorities, or advertisers. This lesson from 1984 serves as a warning. We must be aware of who has access to our data and how it's being used. Manipulation of truth.
In 1984, the government constantly rewrites history, changing facts to fit their narrative. This is called doublethink, the ability to accept two contradictory beliefs at once. The result is a population that can no longer tell what's true and what's not.
We see this happen today in the form of fake news and misinformation. For example, during elections, false stories are often spread to manipulate public opinion. To navigate this, it's important to develop critical thinking skills and verify the sources of information we consume. Just like in the novel, misinformation can have dangerous consequences. The dangers of totalitarianism.
Orwell's novel serves as a stark warning about the dangers of totalitarian regimes, where one party has absolute control over society. The party in 1984 controls everything: what people think, what they say, and even how they feel.
This lesson is still relevant today when we think about countries where free speech is suppressed and citizens live in fear of their governments. Look at North Korea or, in recent years, the increasing censorship in some parts of the world. Orwell's message is that unchecked government power can strip away human rights and freedoms. It's a reminder for us to remain vigilant and protect our democratic institutions.
In 1984, the party uses Newspeak, a restricted language designed to eliminate rebellious thoughts. By controlling language, the government controls how people think. Words like freedom and rebellion are removed from the language, making it impossible for people to even conceptualize opposing the party.
This can be compared to the way certain governments or companies attempt to control narratives by using euphemisms or doublespeak. For instance, calling layoffs right-sizing minimizes the negative impact of the action. Being aware of how language is used to influence and control us can help us maintain clarity and resist manipulation. One of the novel's heroes, Winston Smith, attempts to maintain his ability to think independently, despite the party's efforts to control his mind. His struggle illustrates how crucial it is to preserve individual thought in the face of overwhelming pressure to conform.
In the modern world, we face similar pressures from social media, advertisements, and even peer groups. Independent thinking means questioning the status quo, resisting the pressure to conform, and making decisions based on one's values rather than external influences. For example, many people today feel pressured to follow popular trends without questioning whether they align with their own beliefs and goals. The lesson here is to nurture your own critical thinking and avoid becoming a product of the system. In 1984, personal freedom is non-existent. Every aspect of life is controlled, from who you marry to what you read. People are constantly watched, and there's no space for personal privacy.
Today, while we may not live under a totalitarian regime, there are still concerns about our personal freedoms. For instance, with the rise of technology and social media, many people feel that their personal data is being exploited for profit. Have you ever wondered why ads for a product you just talked about show up on your phone? While we may not have Big Brother in the literal sense, the surveillance of our personal lives through tech platforms is very real. It's important to fight for privacy and to protect the right to personal freedom in the digital age. Winston's relationship with Julia in the novel represents a small act of rebellion against the party's control. In 1984, love is regulated and people are discouraged from forming deep personal connections that could challenge the regime.
In real life, think about how authoritarian regimes or cults often try to control personal relationships. Even in workplaces, strict policies can sometimes limit personal interactions. On a more subtle level, social media algorithms now dictate who we connect with and how we engage with others, potentially limiting our ability to form genuine connections. Orwell's message here is to safeguard personal relationships from external control and value the freedom to love and connect with others on your own terms. Fear is one of the most powerful tools the party uses to control people in 1984. The constant threat of being watched and punished by the thought police keeps people in line, even when they're alone.
Fear is used similarly in modern societies, both by governments and corporations. For instance, marketing often plays on our fears: fear of missing out, fear of failure, or fear of not being good enough.
Recognizing when fear is being used to control or manipulate us allows us to make more rational decisions. In a real-world context, think of how fear can prevent people from speaking up against injustices or trying something new in their careers. Overcoming that fear can be the key to personal growth and societal progress.
Winston's rebellion, though ultimately crushed, shows the power of resistance against oppression. He believes in the possibility of a better world, even in the face of overwhelming odds.
History is filled with examples of individuals or groups who resisted oppressive regimes. From Nelson Mandela fighting apartheid in South Africa to Martin Luther King Jr. leading the civil rights movement in the United States.
The lesson here is that even in the darkest times, resistance is essential. Whether it's standing up to a boss who's exploiting you or pushing back against government censorship, small acts of defiance can lead to greater change.
In 1984, many of the citizens, like Winston's neighbors, are apathetic. They don't question the party's authority because they're too scared, too brainwashed, or simply too indifferent to care.
Apathy is dangerous in any society. When people become indifferent to what's happening around them, whether it's political corruption or corporate abuse, things get worse.
For example, in the corporate world, employees who don't speak up against unethical practices may contribute to a toxic culture. It's a reminder for all of us to stay engaged and never turn a blind eye to injustice, no matter how overwhelming it may seem. In conclusion, George Orwell's 1984 is a chilling warning about the dangers of totalitarianism, the importance of independent thought, and the need to guard our freedoms in an increasingly controlled world. Even though it's a dystopian novel, the lessons it offers are incredibly relevant to today's society.
So, how will you ensure that your personal freedoms and ability to think critically are safeguarded in today's modern world? Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey through Future Business School's Book Bites. If you found this video helpful, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Continue learning, keep pushing boundaries, and stay tuned for more content designed to help you succeed.